You're listening to The Ultimate Rewrite, where my mission is to empower women and men alike to start on their healing journey to become the most authentic version of themselves. If you're feeling lost, or you're someone who struggles to navigate daily life, you're in the right place, baby. Hello, all. Thank you so much for joining us back on The Ultimate Rewrite. We are here in episode 6 with the wonderful Emily Krushefski. So Emily is a licensed therapist with 25 years of experience working with clients. She is one of just a few hundred select certified DBT clinicians throughout the world, recognized by the DBT Linehan board. She is additionally highly trained in multiple evidence-based methods of treatment, including EMDR, CBT, and prolonged exposure. Emily is now pivoting in her career, having co-founded Emotional Innovations, which, you guys, we'll talk about that later. EI is a company focused on creating cutting-edge, direct-to-consumer technology that allows people to learn the real-life skills that most of us need outside of the therapy room in self-directed video education programs that are available at affordable prices. And you guys, I just started this last week. When I tell you, life-changing. So Emily's vision is to make mental health more accessible to anyone who might want it, not just those who've had the good luck to find the right therapist, which sometimes takes ages, we know, or those who have the financial means to get top quality care. And just before we get started, a quick disclaimer, even though Emily is a licensed therapist, y'all, this and any other information that she discusses with us in this podcast episode, it is for the purpose of life education, okay? Not therapy. She is not trying to therapize me or anybody else who is listening. It's not meant to treat a mental health condition for me or anybody else. We're here to, give us our experience, her knowledge, and we're happy that y'all tuned in. So Emily, thank you so much for joining us today, my friend.
I could not be more excited to be here, Heidi. You have no idea. I have been such a fan of your journey and your process and your getting out into the world and going to visit California. And it's been so much fun to watch you. I am beyond excited to be here with you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's definitely been a process, step by step, day by day. We're working on it. I'm slowly listening more to myself and allowing my intuition and my body and how it's been reacting to life circumstances. Finally, I'm listening to it and taking steps in the right direction. So I have been talking about in these first 5 episodes about my experience specifically with anxiety. Like you said, the body knows things, and it's really important for us to listen to the body. And for years, I didn't realize that this was anxiety. I thought it was, just all in my head, that I'm super sensitive. I knew what, panic attacks were, but I didn't understand that this was actually like my nervous system being in overdrive, like that fight or flight. So from your perspective, with your amplitude of knowledge, do you think you could tell us what's actually happening there?
Okay, so I've actually been interested to talk with you about this because I think there are a lot of things that could be happening. What I want to focus on is the fact that very often anxiety is present in people who are it's almost like people who have a talent in emotional awareness.
Interesting. Say more.
So with that process, what I've identified is that people who are highly emotionally aware often end up really confused about their emotional information. Oftentimes, something will happen, and this person is so attuned because they have this talent that it's almost like they get swarmed or overwhelmed with emotional messages. And it's so much that it registers as anxiety, or the anxiety will rise up as part of the overwhelm.
I see.
When people start to really take a look at what the emotions are, there might be 10 or even 20 distinct emotions occurring
all at once.
And sometimes anxiety is one of them, and sometimes it isn't.
Yeah. It's just an overwhelm and a shock to the system almost. Interesting. Right. Okay.
Right. And when people can learn ways, because there are distinct ways to identify all these emotions and to interpret these emotions and to understand what these emotions are trying to tell a person. Emotions give us specific messages about how to direct our lives in effective ways.
100%.
Yeah. And if we follow those emotions and listen to the messages, the emotion goes away.
That's true. I had talked about in one of my episodes about being sensitive and how I mistook a lot of my emotions because so many people and it's not on purpose. It's almost like the society, the conditioning that I'm around almost all the time, telling me, buck up. You need to get it together. And so feeling that being too sensitive, no matter what emotion it was, I was like pushing it down, doesn't exist. And then of course, when you're suppressing, eventually in those moments of panic or anxiety with those anxiety attacks where my heat is rushing through my body, that's all those emotions that are coming up.
I think most people know that emotions are giving messages.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that our society and culture, it's all these insidious ways to tamp it down or tell us to ignore that or just keep going, even though the emotion's there, or, oh, that's not relevant. So do you remember that, the scene in Harry Potter where it's no post on Sundays and
obviously.
Yes. I'm a millennial. Right? Yes.
I figured. Okay, so there's like at first there's like a couple little messages.
Wait, Emily, we gotta pause. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, continue, because there's always gotta be one in every episode.
Always. So when those messages start, they're just little, right? Like how emotions are. They're just like a little bit. But the more we ignore them, eventually they get bigger and bigger and bigger. And they may go away for a little while, but they come back in spades.
Yeah, that's very true. This metaphor is tea, miss. I love it.
It's almost like I'm a therapist.
So in terms of, with a lot of us people who experience anxiety, whether we acknowledge it or not, a lot of us have these tendencies to, because of society and the stigma of suppressing our emotions, we tend to not only shove what we are experiencing or feeling down, but we're also doing this at the sake of other people to validate them, almost like people pleasing, so that we avoid a conflict between us and another person or bringing up something that we don't want to deal with right now, because it's just, like you said, it's not at the surface yet. So a lot of us people shrink ourselves. How does that over time, constantly responding to, like you said, society and expectations of other people and just looking outward instead of inward, how does that turn into anxiety over time?
I think to cut to the core of it though, if we think about the fact that emotions are giving messages, anxiety itself has a message, which is usually pay attention to do a good job.
It's true. To do a good job, which could be pretty broad.
Right. And if you think about the fact, if a person is already kind of anxious, they're probably already relatively sensitive, which means they've got a lot of emotional information that they need in order to function most effectively in their lives.
And that's not a one size fits all.
No. If the person has been taught to ignore their own emotional messages, which they have a lot of and they really need to function, talk about the necessity to pay attention to do a good job. Anxiety is going to be like,
yeah, shooting through the roof. That's very accurate. I didn't even think about it like that. Just because we're talking about society, it depends on the generation that you're in. It depends on a lot. I haven't brought this up much yet in my podcast, but I will eventually. A lot has to do with religion or with culture. It can be not only, just overwhelming to discover these feelings within yourself and finally acknowledge them and try to take ownership over them in terms of moving forward. And you can't fix anxiety, but you can pay attention to it and you can make changes to make your life better, correct?
Oh my gosh, 100%. Even just listening to the anxiety and understanding it has a message makes a
Yes.
huge difference.
100%.
Usually.
Aware. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, what can we maybe say to people who would experience these emotions and anxiety and not knowing how to deal with them based off of the stigmas that they've experienced, such as generational, cultural, religion? How do we help them have language for what they're experiencing and to validate that their anxiety is real and can be dealt with appropriately?
In my mind, there are two parts to becoming effective in the world and our lives.
Mm-hmm.
The first part is working against our own cultural programming.
Yes.
And that frankly has very little to do with anyone else.
Mm-hmm. Very individualized. Yeah.
And so knowledge helps a lot. Of course, therapy is incredibly useful, especially if people have things that are really causing trouble in their lives.
Yes. Especially like a drastic life change, such as, but not limited to, a divorce.
Right, exactly. Or if people are, struggling to function or having things that really undermine them, I absolutely am a huge proponent of therapy. And I think that, like my program, there is space for people who maybe their problems aren't as severe or they're having a really hard time accessing a lot of these treatments.
Yes.
That can be able to start to learn these skills, to look inside oneself,
Right.
to see what's there, and to start to question those automatic responses.
I keep hearing you say, living the most effective lives, but I think also a lot of my listeners just want to be happy and feel that innate sense of happiness. And it's so hard to feel that when you're being told that your emotions are not really valid, and B, when you're feeling emotions that you don't know what to do with. It becomes, like you said, overwhelming.
Well, let's think about what the message happiness is giving.
Sure.
Happiness is an emotion. The message happiness is giving is you're on the right track to your best life, usually.
Effective. Yes, ma'am.
So if a person is listening to their emotions and following their emotions, of course, also including logic and this is pretty complicated, which is why I did a whole course, but following one's own personal wisdom, including emotions, eventually it sorts out and happiness shows up saying, nice work.
Good job.
You did it. Keep doing what you're doing.
You're on the right track. With less panic attacks, less anxiety, clearly that would be enough of an answer, you'd think. So let's just move into the physicality of panic attacks. When somebody is in the middle of a panic attack and it feels like something is seriously wrong, and I'm not talking these anxiety attacks. I'm not even talking the silent panic attacks. I'm talking about the one that was the full blown on that viral reel that 4.3 million people are now relating to.
So many.
I know. And that just tells us though, that because nobody talks about it, it's there in so many people's lives. With the panic attacks, what is actually happening in that moment physically and even in the brain? Like what signals are being sent from the brain? Because again, I don't have a degree in this. You do. And then, so that's step one. What's actually happening? And then what would you say is the most helpful thing that someone can do in that moment of the severe panic where you actually almost fear that you might lose your life?
Yeah. Panic attacks are terrifying. They're terrifying because one of the symptoms is thinking you're dying.
Yeah.
That's one of the possible symptoms. So it's so scary to be in the middle of those.
Especially if you don't know what's happening. There's a couple people who said, I just experienced this for the first time. Is that what that was?
Okay. So I am not a neurobiologist. I'm a nuts and bolts therapist. I'm a practical problem solver.
We love that.
That's how I roll. The most important thing to remember is that the body and the mind are flooded. When that is happening, we are completely overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. And the main thing is to calm down. I think that what messes people up a lot in those moments is trying to find some solution to the problem based upon the responses the body's receiving.
Yeah.
When in actuality, once that panic attack hits, The primary problem is the panic attack.
Yeah.
The primary problem is the overloaded system.
Whatever you're panicking about, that can wait.
Irrelevant.
The panic attack
For the next
number one.
until you're calm, whatever it is irrelevant.
You're right.
Right. So the problem is that the body is overwhelmed and flooded. So problem number one needs to be addressed immediately, if not sooner.
Okay.
And I've heard you give all sorts of really, I think, helpful ideas about how to calm the system. There are so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the thing to remember is that what works for a person is very individualized.
It is.
It's very individualized.
That's why I gave it all out. I'm like, whatever works, y'all.
Right. And I actually have a video on that too, where I break it into categories. There are so many different options.
Mm-hmm.
What I would say is, number one, make sure that you know that the problem is that it's necessary to calm down. And number two, figure out when you're calm, ways that calm you down, and then do that. Because if it works, it will almost always work. And if it doesn't work, it will probably never work. So just give up whatever isn't working and try something until it does.
I love that.
I think I heard you say something about like how sound doesn't work for you very well.
No.
Yeah, sound works great for me. It is my go-to. I just have to listen and pay attention to what I can hear around me, and my everything will drop like a hot rock. My activation level.
That's so cool though. I'm almost jealous because I do have like a pretty musical bone in my body. So I'm kind of jealous of you a little bit. For me, what calms me down the quickest is something cold on my wrist.
Yeah.
Like an ice cube. And then if I have anything sour, Fruit Riot, sponsor me. And sometimes I don't even need to get into that. Sometimes I can just pay attention because I've become so well tuned to my body, but it has taken years, Emily, years.
I mean, your abilities show. It's obvious that you have worked at it.
I've tried. It's tough though, because here I am. I'm like, yeah, I can shut my panic attacks down. We got this. But Heidi, are you listening to what your panic attacks are saying? Why are you even having them?
What emotions have been avoided that are, arriving like the post at Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. So, of course, it took me some time to, get to where I am in terms of being able to respond quickly and efficiently to my panic attacks. But again, I have to listen to them and actually make changes. With that comes this element of being self-aware, which I am at 34 years old, just starting to figure out who I am and becoming self-aware on my own, but not because anybody told me, Emily, because this is something that finally I'm like, girl, your panic attacks are trying to tell you something. You need to lean in. You need to listen.
How did you figure that out? Because that is one of the main hurdles. I'm sorry to jump in, but it's so important.
I just have had so many things go wrong in my life, to be honest. And I don't want to make it a pity party about me because I do share my experiences so often, and I will be getting into more detail in the future. But I think just always putting other people before myself, I have gotten exhausted, and it was happening quicker and quicker, specifically with men. One with my ex-husband, which lasted years, the next relationship, which lasted a year, and then a quick 1 month stint with someone. And I'm like, you know what? What am I doing? I need to listen to myself and put myself first. I need to figure out all of these emotions. I need to handle them appropriately and truly address them. Yes, maybe in big steps, but in small steps along the way. So as a licensed therapist who has these incredible tools through your program, Emotional Innovations, could you just share with us, why are these tools? Because not everybody can afford a therapist, Emily. And your program is affordable and so helpful, as speaking as somebody who's going through it. So can you just tell us, why is having a therapist or these guiding therapy tools, why is that so important for us?
Absolutely. I want to back up just a tiny bit and explain, over the course of doing therapy, I would teach the same stuff again and again and again and again. And at some point I thought, how is it that 80% of people need the same stuff. And the only way to get it is to pay this enormous amount of money. And some of this stuff can literally be taught in a 5-minute video. I wanted people to have these tools. And then on top of it, I mean, yeah, AI is amazing and all these, chat platforms. It's just that without the guardrails right now, I don't know that we can really rely that information is always correct. So I guess with my program, it's a sequential program. It walks people through all the basic things I would teach people for years and years and years, bit by bit by bit, building on each other in a way that makes sense so that people can build the foundational skills for motivation, for being able to calm themselves, being able to calm other people, being able to set a plan or set life goals and follow through on that. That's all in the first section. And then the second section teaches people how to help their thoughts be in line with the circumstances and their goals. Then the next section talks about helping people understand what their emotions are telling them in a step-by-step process.
Yeah.
And then the last section teaches people how to intentionally behave how they want in line with their goals and values. And the last part teaches people how to act in relationships in ways that create sustaining, fulfilling, balanced, meaningful connections.
Oh, those words, fulfilling, balanced, meaningful. Like, this is what I'm aiming for, Emily.
This is what helps humans be effective and fulfilled.
And happy. Yeah. I feel like for everybody who liked that viral reel, that is what they want. They want to just feel that fulfillment, that happiness that comes at the end of the anxious thoughts and lifestyle. And that's the thing too. When panic starts to arise, it could turn into a lifestyle, in which case a program like Emotional Innovations is needed to pull us out. If we've been constantly in this pattern of cyclical toxicity or conditioning that we're trying to, our body's trying to tell us, hey, get out of this. We don't like this. This is not okay for your life. So for anybody who is listening to us right now and recognizing themselves in everything that we are saying today, what would be the first step that you want them to take other than taking a look at Emotional Innovations because it's on sale, folks?
Well, on sale for your people.
Well, of course, for those of us who are listening. Yes, of course.
Only those people who are wise enough to tune in to Heidi's smart channel. Right.
But what would be, of course. What would be that first step that you tell them to take in terms of taking initiative for themselves and their emotions and their anxiety?
Yeah, I think the first thing that it's helpful for people to do is to start to ask themselves what they need. What do I need? What is immediately missing in my life?
Yes, 100%. Right?
I think the way that the course works, it actually walks people through that. The first question is, what's the big problem in your life?
Mm-hmm.
Because it does help people. And oh, by the way, that problem changes. If we're growing, there's always a new problem, which is...
Tell me about it.
I know, it's so exciting because then we just keep growing and changing. So if we can identify what the biggest problem is and what we need to do to solve it, then we start to move forward. And whatever that solution is, it's usually different for everybody.
Depending on where they are in their lives, what their current circumstances are. And that's funny that you say, when we write down one problem, you might start to recognize the others, because typically if you've been going through this anxiety and these emotions for so long, it's because they keep stacking on top. So you have to kind of peel back each of the layers. And that's kind of where I'm at right now, to be honest with you, Emily. And that's why I said coming into myself in this, healing and self-discovery era that I'm in, that started maybe in February. So I'm only 2 months into this journey of change and wanting to heal myself. So I'm probably with those layers. I'm only at like layer 2 right now. So that's why your program is super helpful for me, because it's helping me to organize myself.
for all of you wise people who have tuned in to Heidi's podcast, The Ultimate Rewrite, or her amazing socials, we have created, my husband and I, who helps me, we do emotional innovations together, have created a special discount coupon code only for you people that is Rewrite 50, that gives you 50% off your first month of emotional innovations. And remember that all of this is incentivized. So the faster you can move through the program and incorporate it, the cheaper it is.
There you go. So you can click on that link that is posted here with the code that is also above. There you go, guys. Just for you, special.
Exactly. Straight from Heidi.
And Emily.
Oh yeah, that.
And Emily's generosity. With that, y'all, thank you so much for tuning in to The Ultimate Rewrite with the special 6th episode titled Your Anxiety Has a Message with Emily Krushefski. We hope you enjoyed it. This is H-Dubs with You Are signing off. Just don't forget that you are incredible and that you are worthy of all the wonderful things that will come your way, so long as you're willing to put in the time and the growth, y'all. Thank you so much, Emily. Hope to see you on our socials, guys. Mwah.
This episode is sponsored by... Just kidding. I'm too new. Tell your friends, though.